Welcome to the Rockin Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. I'm your host, Rockin Rich Lynch, inviting you to join me as we discover great new music by bands and artists from around the world. With interviews, music news and reviews, great prizes, and a whole lot more. Visit us online today at soundpress.net for great music promotion and publicity. Hi, this is Rockin Rich Lynch, and you're listening to the very best of Rockin Rich Lynch on the radio. We recently moved our operations from the New York, New Jersey market to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are now looking for a production and broadcast partner in the region to take the radio show to new heights. If you're a band, musician, solo act, or represent a musical project in any genre, please visit soundpress.net and our new site, musiccitynashville.net, to learn how we can help get your message to the world. Now, please enjoy this great interview from our archives. The gentleman we're about to speak to makes his second return to the Rockin Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. He is a Grammy Award winner and a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's given you many great classic rock and roll songs, most famously Hotel California, and it gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome back Mr. Don Felder to the program. Hey, Don, welcome back.
Hey, Rich, it's great to be back on the phone with you, my friend.
Oh, yeah, it's so good to speak to you. So much has happened since we've last spoken in December of 2012, and we are back now. You were back, Don. Your album that came out in 2012, Road to Forever, has a little more pavement added to it.
Yeah, when I originally wrote the songs for the Road to Forever, I wrote and recorded and finished 16 tracks, and I intended to put all 16 tracks on the final master, and we were doing the artwork and getting ready to send it out to be manufactured, and my management and the record company called me and said, you know, we need to have an exclusive for iTunes. Oh, and we need an exclusive song for Amazon. And oh, wait, Japan wants an exclusive song, and Europe and Australia want an exclusive song. So I had to pull 4 songs of the 16 off of the CD and release it originally with the 12 songs that you heard on the original release. Now that we're doing this big summer tour with Foreigner and Styx and myself pretty much all summer, I thought it would be really great to take those 4 songs that no one's really heard, put them back together in their original concept of the Road to Forever, and re-release it and call it the Road to Forever Extended Edition, so everybody can hear the full body of work. It's like if you had written a book and left the last 3 or 4 chapters off. It just seems incomplete. So now that they're all back together in the same family and on the same disc, it'll be back out. The single that's going to be released for this summer, which is out on radio right now, is a song called You Don't Have Me, which is a good, solid, hard rocker song. The last song I released from Road to Forever was a song called Wash Away that I co-wrote with Tommy Shaw, and it wound up being number 4 on the classic rock charts, right between Clapton and the Rolling Stones. So I was very happy and proud to have been in such good company on the radio.
Very good company. Well, the first of the extended tracks, I believe, is Can't Stop Now.
Uh-huh.
Nice power groove on there with a generous amount of the talk box thrown in. I wrote down that track really shines. I was taking some notes earlier.
Yeah, I love talk box. As a matter of fact, when Joe Walsh joined the band, he obviously has been playing talk box for years. I had been playing talk box occasionally in different bands and stuff, but I wanted to write a song that Joe and I could both play talk box on, so I wrote this song called Those Shoes, which we played harmony talk box on, which I do live in my show as well. And when I was writing for Road to Forever, I said, I want to write a song that has talk box on it because I love to play it. And sure enough, it came out to be Can't Stop Now.
Another one of the new ones is Southern Bound. I have a strong swagger powered by horns and a really nice acoustic guitar flair in there.
Oh, fantastic. You know, I'm from the South. I was raised in Florida. Especially during the middle of some of these Canadian northeastern winters, everybody would really like to start up their car, turn it south, and just head down to warm water and sunshine and palm trees and that sort of lifestyle. And I get typically drawn south, whether it's to Southern California or back into Florida, where I spend time as well. So I wanted to write a song about wanting to return to those kind of warm southern conditions in a song called Southern Bound.
And the last new one on the extended edition of Road to Forever is Sensuality. I have that's a sultry rocker, more hot licks from yourself, and maybe from the subject of the song.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things you find out in Hollywood, and just about any big city, New York, Chicago, or whatnot, there's a certain group of women that are just very sensual, and you can tell by the way they walk, the way they dress. There's a large attraction there. So I wanted to try to capture that image and concept and feeling in a song, so I wrote this song called Sensuality. And the track kind of feels sensual, the lyrics are sensual, it's just all about women's sensuality.
DonFelder.com is the website. Don Felder, the great legendary guitar player, singer-songwriter, a long extended career in the Eagles, has been out on his own doing some great work. And as you previewed and mentioned, coming this summer, the soundtrack of Summer Tour with Styx and Foreigner, that'll be mid-May through the end of July. And I need to, I guess you're going to be working up that band that you have, that you've been working with now is going to be taking it to the larger stages. You're looking forward to that, Don?
Yeah, it's going to be a great deal of fun. When I first heard about this tour possibility, I was really excited because the catalog that Foreigner has in the way of hits, records, and songs is just phenomenal. And Styx has a great catalog of songs and rock and roll and hits. And my catalog of stuff that I co-wrote and recorded with the Eagles, and my solo stuff like heavy metal and a couple of rock tracks off of this new CD, Road to Forever. It just looks like it's going to be a 4-hour hit after hit after hit after hit rock show. So it's going to be a lot of fun musically, as well as everybody in the Styx organization, in the band and in their families, supporting crews, management, everything, as well as the people that are in the Foreigner band, their crew and management, are all really nice people. So it's been a lot of fun putting this together with them, being in the studio with them, doing press with them. So it's going to be a no stress, no drama, rockin' fun tour for me this summer. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's cool, Don. I think Styx is one of those bands that we've been really impressed with. Especially, they were probably one of the earliest acts that we got to cover as professionals for SoundPress.net, and they always do just a really great job. They take a business-like approach, and it's really worked for them since they've regrouped in this past almost 15 years, probably.
Yeah, they're just really exceptionally talented guys, and a lot of humility, humbleness, just down-to-earth people. You don't have any attitude or drama, like I said, and just a lot of great talent. I mean, Tommy Shaw co-wrote a couple of songs on Road to Forever with me, came over on his days off on the road in L.A. and spent days in my studio. We actually wrote 3 songs. 2 of them wound up on my solo record, and the third one we have sitting around in the can. Who knows when that may shine and come out. But anyway, just really nice people, and I think the world of them. I've played with them, sat in with them. Our bands together have done shows together. So I'm really looking forward to spending the summer with these guys.
Don Felder, speaking of nice guys, I wanted to say that the coolest thing I've ever seen in over the 15 years that we've been professionally reviewing concerts for SoundPress.net was your show in Morristown, New Jersey in 2013, when after the final note was played, you came back out to the foot of the stage and greeted all your fans, signing, taking time, about 40 minutes, and it was the most, I've never seen anybody do that or anything like that. I got to just give you a shout out and props for that, because it was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Thank you so much. I try to do that at every show I can. If I have the time while the crew's packing up and getting ready to go, I think it's worth giving back to the fans the time and effort that they put out to come see you by giving them some access to come out and sign their things, say hello, shake their hand, take a photograph with them, and just share the evening and share the moment with them. I get a great deal of gratitude out of it and support for what they've done to support me, and I figure it's time for me to give back to them. So I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, and I don't want to raise the expectations, because maybe there's going to be a time when you got to catch a flight and you got to run out of there, but it was cool that night.
I try to do it as often as possible, to tell you the truth.
So I just spent the last 2 hours watching the chunk of the History of the Eagles documentary that documented your time in the band from the time you entered to the time you left, and it was quite tumultuous, and a lot of it you touched on in your own autobiography, but to see it there on film was pretty incredible. Were you overall happy with the way the documentary portrayed your time in the band?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think I was honored at the fact that they invited me to be part of the film. I felt like if they were going to do a film called The History of the Eagles, that I should be part of it after I was involved for 27 years in the band. And I was sad when I discovered that when I went into the studio, there was no one else there but me being interviewed individually, that I thought maybe we would all sit together and talk about things in old times, but it didn't turn out that way. And I was fascinated to look back at the real early footage of us just in kind of ripped jeans, T-shirts, football jerseys, kind of unkempt hair. You know, we were really rock and roll hippies in those days. We had no stage show per se with pyrotechnics and backdrops and lights, or it was just five guys walking out playing songs and singing songs that we had written. And very shortly after that, or just before that, I'd seen the Super Bowl with Beyonce and saw her totally choreographed outfits, sparkles coming out of the end of the guitar player's guitar neck when he was taking a solo, and lights and production. It was just completely different from what the Eagles ever thought of doing, and it just didn't seem pertinent to the music to me. So I was really delighted at seeing a lot of the old footage that I hadn't seen for a long, long time. I thought a lot of the history part of the band had been omitted. There was a great deal of history about Don Henley and where he grew up in Texas and how he wound up moving to L.A. and all that, and a great deal about Glenn Frey, but they had omitted the history of Joe Walsh. They had omitted the history of Bernie Leadon, who actually was in some very successful bands before he joined the Eagles, like Flying Burrito Brothers, Hearts and Flowers, and that sort of stuff, worked with Linda Ronstadt. Randy Meisner had a really good career working with Poco and had some hits with Poco, and also had been in the Rick Nelson Stone Canyon Band, and all of that was just omitted. It seemed more like it was the history of Don Henley and Glenn Frey as opposed to the history of the Eagles. So there were some good parts to it and some sad parts to it as well.
And, you know, that's almost probably what you would come to expect it to be if they're putting it together.
Yeah, they own it. They put it together. They paid for it. So, of course, it's going to feature them.
Well, a lot of good times. There was sex and drugs, but there was also softball games. Did you enjoy those times you got to play with the band?
Well, yes and no. You know, it's funny. The softball game came about because of some dispute with Rolling Stone magazine, if I recall. And they had used us on the cover of one issue to sell their magazine. In the back of the same issue, they had panned the Hotel California album. Like the review department didn't know what the cover department was doing, and so they were using us to sell their magazine and panning our product in the back of the same issue. It was just, I think it really upset Don Henley. So he challenged them to a dispute, to resolve the dispute over a softball game. So we had a lot of great guys in our organization and our crew and people that were part of our management and stuff that were really good athletes. So we kind of stacked our deck against these writers that had been somewhat desk-bound, and we were victorious. So it was a great way to settle a dispute with Rolling Stone.
And you could take that undefeated record. Now, did you play other organizations then over time, or was it?
No, I think that was really one of the only times we played baseball or softball. I remember we did it maybe at Dodger Stadium, or somehow we got on some pro baseball field to do it.
Well, either way, it looked like a great time.
Uh-huh.
So DonFelder.com is the website. Don Felder is coming to a town near you this summer with the soundtrack of Summer Tour along with Styx and Foreigner. It's going to be a great, great show. One more about the movie. I got to say that the feel-good story had to be the salvation of Joe Walsh as a human being, probably.
Yeah, you know, we were very fortunate to be in a position to help Joe into recovery and get him clean and sober and basically save his life. We realized that if that wasn't put to him in that way, whether it was a do-or-die situation, that he would never change his addictive patterns, which is true of a lot of addicts. Unfortunately, he managed to reach up and grab hold of that idea, and work through it and come out the other side. God bless him for having the strength and fortitude and the support to do that.
Well, I was a fan of Howard Stern. I listened a lot, Don, in the early 80s, throughout the whole, when he was on free radio, I was always right there with Howard from the very, very beginning. And, when the Eagles shut down, it seemed in a way that, he became a regular on the Stern Show in an almost exploitive manner. I mean, looking back now, they used to get him tanked.
Yeah, I know. Joe in those days was, the lovable addict that we all think so highly of and love so much. I've heard a lot of those Howard Stern shows too, and Joe's quite a character. A lot of people that used to be on Howard's show were high or addicted to something or drunk, and it just used to be part of the entertainment. But I'm so happy that Joe has seen the light and come out of that lifestyle and now healthy and clean and sober and doing well.
Me too. Now, Don Felder, I don't know, you don't have to worry about getting seasick, because in 2015 there's a huge cruise. It's called the Rock Legends Cruise, February 19th to the 23rd, rocklegendscruise.com. You're going to be taking this whole thing to the sea. Have you ever done one of those before?
I've played on a cruise ship, but it was for a private event that was for State Farm. They chartered this entire cruise ship up in Juneau, Alaska, and flew my band up, and we did, I think, 2 or 3 shows for them on board there, but it never left the dock. It was just tied up to the dock, and they leased it as a party venue. Had a great theater in it. The sound was great. It seated about 2,500 people. And I think we did a couple of shows one night or something. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. There are going to be a lot of people on that cruise that I know. Alice Cooper is a dear friend of mine that's going to be on board. Some of the other people that are in different bands there that I know and have developed relationships with, friendships with. So we'll have plenty of time to hang out together and roam around the decks while we're cruising and play some great music.
Hey, Don, we have a segment on the show. It's called Love It or Loathe It, and in a way, this sort of feels a little bit like the title of your book when you said my life in the Eagles was, heaven and hell. But that being said, can you tell us what you really loved about being a member of the Eagles?
Well, I really loved the fact that the product that we finally managed to get out, the records and songs that we wrote together and recorded together, were probably the crown jewels of all of that relationship. I mean, everybody brought something really strong to the party, whether it was lyrics, vocals, guitar parts, writing, live performances, to kind of create what that band did. And when you look back at all the work that we managed to get through and the state of mind we were in at the time, you have to wonder how we made so much good music and wrote and recorded so many great records and in that kind of condition. So I'm most proud of the work that we did together.
And something that you might loathe or be not too happy with about your history, your part of the history of the Eagles.
No, I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to be in that band. There were some difficult times, obviously, some words that flew around the room and some difficult struggles personally, but in light of it all, the final output and outcome of it all was that we wrote some great records, and they have stood the test of time so far, and so you can't say too much bad about it when what you did, what you were working so hard for, was so successful. Very good. You mostly loved it. I should have asked you about Florida, but that'll be next time, because this is a pretty good segment. People seem to like those 2 questions. Now, can you talk about playing Hotel California in front of 400 heads of state at the United Nations in 2012? Sure. I did a show for the UN, United Nations, in New York City a couple of years ago, and there were about 400 or 450 heads of state, secretaries of states, presidents from all over the world that had attended this dinner at the Waldorf Astoria in their large banquet room. As a matter of fact, it's the same room where they used to induct all the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame functions there. As a matter of fact, where I was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so I walk up on stage and play Hotel California, and half the people in the audience don't even speak English. They're from countries that don't speak or understand English. But yet, when I finished the song, everybody in the room stood up and recognized that song and gave me a standing ovation. It just really struck me that the global impact that one song has had is just magnanimous. It's reached globally around the world, and I just got a text yesterday from somebody, a friend of mine, that was down in Argentina in a bar, and they were doing some Argentinian version of Hotel California in this bar. So it's a delight to have been part of something and have co-written something that was had such a large global reach around the world. It's an honor.
Hey, Don, just a couple more. DonFelder.com is the website. Don is coming to town this summer. The soundtrack of summer tour with Styx and Foreigner. It's going to be a blast. I hope to get out there. Now, the last time we had you on the phone, you talked a lot about your book, and then you gave me a book recommendation. It was Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. So I'm calling this segment Don Felder's Book Club. Have you read anything good lately that I should know about?
Yeah, it's called Parenting from the Inside Out. And it's not just about how to be a parent, because I've raised my kids, but it's about how you look back into your childhood and the situations that affected you so dramatically in your childhood, and how they still continue to rise up inside your subconscious and eventually into your consciousness today, that makes you act or react a certain way in the world to certain things, certain triggers that are going back into your history. And it's a very interior kind of cathartic process to go through and read this book and understand what these people have done. And they've done a lot of research on how people's brain reacts to certain triggers and why and that sort of stuff. So it's a very kind of, like I said, cathartic read to go through and kind of self-explore yourself and try to understand more about how you work. And why?
That's one of the more scarier things about life, Don, because you never know what something from the past might come back and haunt you in the future.
It does every day.
So one final thing, could you tell me what a supergroup consisting of yourself, Tom Petty, Stephen Stills, and Greg Allman might look like?
Wow. It would look like one heck of a lot of fun and a lot of great music. I mean, I've known Greg since we were, teenagers, and like I said, Petty was one of my guitar students, great singer, great writer. I just saw Stephen last night. We're doing this benefit together, like I said, Friday, and the premiere for the Light Up the Blues video, which is now on iTunes, it was last night, so I went and saw Stephen. He was playing great, having a great time. And just everybody that you mentioned, it would be just a superb collection of musicians, and it would be a great show. I mean, the catalog of all those bands is just amazing, the music we could play together.
And if you could snatch Bernie back from the Eagles, you'd be you got one more in the camp.
Bernie's welcome anytime to come play with me.
All right, Don, have a lot of fun this summer. It sounds like it's going to be great.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, Rich. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show, part of the SoundPress.net radio network. Remember, if you're a band or artist looking for promotion, or if you'd like to sponsor this show or add this program to your station, please get in touch with us today at SoundPress.net.